After experiencing a hangover, Kobayashi, an office worker, is approached by Tooru, a dragon, who claims to have saved her life the previous night. Tooru offers to become her maid and live with her. Initially hesitant, Kobayashi changes her mind when Tooru helps her get to work on time, despite Tooru's lack of experience as a maid. While Kobayashi goes to work the following day, Tooru stays behind to protect her apartment from 2 burglars. Later, Tooru becomes jealous of Kobayashi's co-worker, Makoto Takiya, only to discover that he is just a drinking buddy and fellow maid enthusiast. Subsequently, Tooru employs her magic to disperse the clouds and hasten the drying of laundry, which draws the attention of another small dragon. Accompanied by Tooru, Kobayashi visits the shopping district and observes her amicable interactions with the locals, even displaying her formidable strength when thwarting a pickpocket. Later, Tooru's friend from the dragon realm, Kanakamiya, who was banished for mischievous acts, approaches Kobayashi. Since Kana lacks the necessary magic to return home, Kobayashi kindly offers her a place to stay. However, Kobayashi feels that Tooru and Kana's way of playing around is excessively intense, so she takes it upon herself to teach them how to enjoy activities on a more human scale. While Kobayashi is occupied at work, Tooru takes on the role of instructing Kana about the human world, expressing her desire to repay her debt to Kobayashi. After recognizing that her current apartment is insufficient for accommodating herself and the 2 dragons, Kobayashi makes the decision to purchase a larger residence that includes a separate bedroom for Tooru and Kana. Disturbed by the noisy neighbors while experiencing a hangover, Kobayashi initially sends Tooru to request quietness, but eventually devises a more peaceful solution on her own. Subsequently, Kobayashi organizes a party at her new apartment, where Tooru extends invitations to her dragon acquaintances, the skeptical Fafnir and the voluptuous Quetzalcoatl, also known as Lukoa. Observing Kana gazing longingly at students passing by, Kobayashi and Tooru arrange for her to attend school. They accompany her to purchase necessary supplies. On Kana's first day, she successfully befriends Riko Seikawa, a fellow classmate, and receives a keychain from Kobayashi. Later, Riko impulsively challenges a group of troublemaking individuals occupying the park to a game of dodgeball. This prompts Tooru and the other dragons to join Riko's team. After effortlessly defeating the opposing team, the dragons decide to engage in a no-holds-barred battle against each other. Employing her magic of perception blocking, Tooru covertly infiltrates Kobayashi's workplace to observe her job responsibilities. She takes revenge on an overbearing supervisor who constantly pressures Kobayashi into completing his tasks. Subsequently, Tooru assists Fafnir in finding a suitable residence when he decides to remain in the human realm. Eventually, Tooru arranges for Fafnir to live with Makoto. Intrigued by a spoon-bending magic trick showcased on television, Tooru and Kana engage in a somewhat futile training regimen in their quest to master the trick themselves. Riko extends an invitation to Kana, Tooru, and Kobayashi to visit her residence and meet her sister, Georgie, an ardent fan of Maids. As the others engage in conversations about Maids, Kana and Riko grow remarkably close while enjoying games together. Later, Lukoa discloses that she has taken up residence with a young mage named Shota Magatsuchi after unexpectedly appearing during a summoning ritual for demons. In an attempt to demonstrate that she is not actually a demon, Lukoa invites Kobayashi and Tooru to Shota's home. However, her efforts to prove her worth and dispel any doubts fail to convince him. Meanwhile, Fafnir adjusts to living with Makoto, spending most of their time immersed in gaming activities. During a beach trip, Kobayashi and her companions are joined by Tooru, who expresses concerns about her family and simultaneously inquires about Kobayashi's. Afterwards, Makoto asks Kobayashi and Tooru to assist him in selling his doujinshi at Kamite. Surprisingly, they realize that numerous cosplayers at the event are magical creatures from Tooru's world. These creatures take advantage of the cosplayer-filled environment to freely assume their true forms without drawing unwanted attention. Kobayashi and Tooru engage in a cooking competition to determine who will prepare a lunchbox for Kana's field trip. Unfortunately, Tooru is disqualified when it is discovered that she used a fruit from another realm for dessert. Later that evening, Elma, Tooru's rival from a different faction, arrives to compel Tooru to go back home. However, Tooru swiftly ends their confrontation. With no option to return to her own world, Elma starts working at Kobayashi's company, which triggers some envy in Tooru. Kana feels disheartened when Kobayashi informs her that she won't be able to attend her school's sports festival due to work commitments. However, Kobayashi notices Kana suppressing her own desires after witnessing her dedication and decides to put in extra hours to secure the day off for the festival. The day of the event arrives, and Kana, Riko, and Shouta participate in different activities. In the climactic relay race, Riko falls behind when she accidentally drops the baton, but Kana manages to compensate for the lost ground and secures a victory for their class in the festival. As Christmas approaches, Tooru is approached by a merchant from the shopping district who requests her assistance in organizing a Christmas show for the elderly after he injures himself. Following Riko's suggestion, Tooru and the rest of the group opt to stage a performance of The Little Match Girl, with Kana taking on the lead role. However, feeling that the original story may not be captivating enough, the dragons decide to incorporate their own imaginative twists into the script, resulting in an extravagant tale featuring magical girls and demon lords. Surprisingly, the audience thoroughly enjoys the modified play. Later, Kobayashi and Tooru embark on a Christmas outing where they exchange gifts with each other. As the year comes to a close, Kobayashi and her companions enjoy their leisure time huddled together under a kotatsu, which they had won in a lottery. On New Year's Eve, they gather at the shrine to welcome the arrival of the new year before heading back to Kobayashi's apartment to witness the first sunrise together. While Tooru prepares a special amurus for their meal, Kobayashi reminisces about the night they first crossed paths. In an inebriated state, Kobayashi found herself lost in the mountains only to stumble upon Tooru. To Kobayashi's astonishment, she saved Tooru's life by removing a sacred sword from her back, an act made possible by Kobayashi's lack of belief in God, otherwise, it would have been fatal. Sharing a connection over drinks and recognizing their shared loneliness, Kobayashi extended an invitation for Tooru to stay with her as a maid. Later, Tooru recounts her encounter with a human bandit during her time in the dragon world, which led her to embrace her own freedom and pursue a life as a maid. Meanwhile, another dragon makes their entrance into the human realm. Tooru finds herself torn with inner conflict regarding the potential consequences of being separated from Kobayashi when suddenly her father, the Emperor of Demise, appears and forcefully takes her back to their world. Upon learning from Kana that Tooru may not be able to return, Kobayashi struggles to adapt to a life without her beloved dragon companion. However, some time later, Tooru manages to escape from the other world and reunite with Kobayashi, only to be relentlessly pursued by her father. Observing Tooru's strong desire to remain by her side, Kobayashi bravely confronts her overpowering father, asserting her determination. Encouraged by Kobayashi's unwavering resolve, Tooru prepares for a showdown with her father, but Kobayashi intervenes, standing between them. She appeals to the father to trust his daughter's wishes, eventually convincing him to let them be. As life returns to normalcy, Kobayashi extends an invitation for Tooru and Kana to meet her parents.